Welcome to Cosmic Conversations, episode 50. We are halfway to 100, and since this is episode 50, I felt called from my spirit to address something that is important to me when it comes to family. I am your Cychadelic Cychopomp, Clarence Calloway. And this Cosmic Conversations is going to be quite personal. Okay, so strap it. I'm about to be going pretty hard on what I like in relationships. And I'm talking about spiritual relationships. Just any relationship, right? A relationship is literally as simple as possible. You as a space creating a structure with another space that allows you to sail through the universe. So no matter what you're doing, if you're experiencing life, you are inside of a universe, which means that your first relationship with all other spirits, with all other spaces outside of yourself, is going to be dictated by your body. Your relationship is your body. Think of your relation as your soul and your ship as your body. We know that the soul creates the body. We know for a fact here with Hermeticism and Zoroastrianism and Semicism and Odinism, we know for a fact that space creates the soul so it can connect with itself. And then that's the first structure that allows that space to build all these infinite bodies so it can connect with other souls. And then this is where Mercury is one soul. I'm one space that built one structure, but I manifest as many different bodies because my space is called into many different simulations at many different points in time. So this is where I'm not going to have the same name in one language that I will in another language, but you best believe I'm always going to be a messenger from Mercury, because Mercury is a structure that I built to make sure that my soul always makes sense. No matter what universe, no matter what simulation, no matter what planet I land on, I know that I already manifested my heaven. I have my moon. I have my Merkaba. I have my Mercury heaven, literally. I mean, heaven is really you alone, so no one is in my heaven. Mercury is what I created to share my heaven with the hell that is the universe. So this is where Zoroastrianism is me as Mercury building a religion that talks to you about everything that I went through building Mercury. So this is where Jews steal all of their ideas of spiritual warfare from. This is where Jews steal all their ideas of superheroes from. This is where Jews steal their ideas of Game of Thrones, and really government and order all come from Zoroastrianism, because that was me and my soul group setting up astrology. So I don't do things alone. This is the fucked up lie that most people are trapped in based on how they were taught by Jews how to think. They believe that God is one entity who's controlling all of us, and he's alone in the fact that he's controlling everyone seen and unseen. And this is them just weaponizing Zoroastrianism to lie to you. So now I have to be back as Zoroaster inside of a body named Chase to let you know what real Zoroastrianism is, which is communicating to you about elements and how God is your fire element. And your fire element is always alone because your fire can't actually touch or interact with other fires. The point of your fire is to separate your space from other spaces, and your water connects your space to other spaces. So I know this. I know this because I'm the one who built all these religions. I built these governments. These governments, the Illuminati, simply just stole everything that I let them steal. Like all the little artifacts and trinkets, physical items that we left here as we're ascending into other realms. We let white people steal all that so that they could act like they're better than us because they know how to rape us and eat us and turn it into a matrix. Everything's stolen from Metatron, but they're obsessed with the matrix because they're obsessed with having something. But they won't have something if they don't enslave indigenous peoples, if they don't steal indigenous land, if they don't take indigenous resources, if they don't, man, do horrible things, very horrible things. I'm not even going to keep going with that. So this is just the facts of history that we get to see, okay? And it's important that I know this because this energy is always playing out. The energy of whiteness and blackness is always playing out in colors. So this is where Odin, all right, Odin and Zoroaster, two aspects of my space. You can see that they're both messengers from Mercury, just at different times. This is where Odin is a side of me that goes to war. And Odin, as a side of me that goes to war, is hyper aware of the spiritual warfare in a way that none of my other past lives really want to be aware of it. This is why most people in the universe are sheep, quote unquote, or they're ignorant, because they don't want to be aware of how the spiritual warfare is going on all the time. So I'm here as Chase to get into all my caduceus Mercury energy and help clarify these circumstances so humans don't keep causing climate change because they believe they need to go to heaven instead of appreciate the world that they're creating right now. And bro, I'm not even gonna go deeper with that because it's just insane. I could like keep going on all these paths of how insane it is that the Freemasonic Illuminati Masons, Matrix makers, whatever, the Masonic Matrix makers, how deep they've gone to steal everything from Metatron, steal everything from Hermes, steal everything from Tahuti, steal everything from Odin, steal everything from Quetzalcoatl, steal everything from Idris, steal everything from Zoroaster, steal everything from all the indigenous spirits that they could. Because I'm talking about from my perspective. But they steal from other individuals outside of myself. It's just those individuals would have to talk to you about what they stole from them. They stole everything. I'm just personally invested and can actually attest, give my real perspective on what they stole from me. And then that will naturally help wake people up. Maybe they stole something from you. Who knows? Whatever. They stole their idea of one God from me, though. So really everything that Jews have was stolen from Mercury, which is why you can see that they're using astrology to teach you to worship their holidays instead of loving yourself. And then they want you to celebrate Thanksgiving. They want you to celebrate the genocide of the indigenous peoples that they stole astrology from. But they don't want you to know your own astrological chart. They don't want you to know how you can use your own astrological energies to manifest your own matrix. That's the manifestation matrix that we have on chaseyourgenes.com. Okay, check that out. If you don't know how your astrological chart is your manifestation matrix, and that's because the people who stole all this indigenous wisdom are using your astrology to trap you in something that they can harvest your soul with, that they can enslave you forever with. So Odin wants you to know, all right, the Odin side of me wants you to know that white and black are concepts that don't exist in nature, but white and black are spiritual concepts that create all the colors we can see. So your whiteness is your ego and your blackness is your soul. And when you combine your whiteness and your blackness, you create the infinite color spectrum that we call your mind. So this is why all humans are hues of man. They're all infinitely colorful because we're all mindful. We're all mental. Everything's mental. That's Tahuti. All right, Metatron communicating through Tahuti about how everything is mental, about how your ability to experience life is created by you combining your man and woman. Your man is white, your woman is black. Your man projects light, your woman absorbs light. So your dick is white because it's out there for everyone to see. Your vagina is black because it's inside, hidden. And you need both of these to create a child, right? So you as a child of God are the product of your spirit having sex with itself. It's just that from there, if you want to actually create a body inside of a reality like this, you're going to have to work with spirits who are having sex outside of yourself. This is where you get your parents. This is where you get literally your parents. Like you manifest them based on how you have sex with yourself. So then this is like, of course, good people have horrible parents. Just because you're a good person who was born into an atrocious family, that doesn't mean that you don't know how to have internal sex, okay? That it's more complicated than that. You very well have karmic ties with them. You very well have contracts. You very well have connections that you agreed to facilitating. That's a very popular thing that good spirits like to do with bad spirits. Like if you feel like you're a good person and you have a family that's bad, you very well create the circumstance where you signed a contract that is allowing you to be the beacon of light for your family that's hidden in darkness, right? So in your family, these people that you love are shrouded in darkness and they want to wake up, but they can't wake up without help. Then this is where you, as a spirit that's more aware, can work with your family to wake them up. And then that looks like in this life, right? You literally being the more spiritual one in your family, but your family is growing because you express yourself, right? Your family is constantly reacting to your light. You're the Son of God. You are Jesus. Before the Jews stole this idea from Zoroastrianism, from Hermeticism, from Odinism, from Quetzalcoatl, from indigenous peoples overall, before they just stole all of their ideas of what they want Jesus to be so that they could write a book about sacrificing him to the government and teach you to subconsciously be okay with sacrificing indigenous bodies to the government. God, I'm about to keep going on pathways in this video. It's so funny. And then reel it back. Let me reel it back real quick. Before the Freemasonic Matrix could steal their ideas of what a superhero is from Mercury and then teach you that you're not happy alone and that you need to serve them, before that, indigenous peoples were just fasting normally. Everyone was just doing spirituality healthily and normally and in a consensual way. This is what it meant to be human before the Freemasonic Matrix burned down the Library of Alexandria and stole all the information to trap humans in the age that we are now. Families used to interact in a more human, colorful way. Now, families are really fucked up, right? So if you find yourself in a fucked up family, that doesn't mean that you're fucked up too. It very well means that this is how you can help people and your grounded way of helping people, because you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. But if someone wants to be helped, then they will help you create a circumstance where you can help them. And that's where, again, you just get balance and fairness in the universe. People, for example, as we see with the colonization of North, South, and Central America, the Europeans who came here to eat Native Americans, they wanted help because they wanted to come to the New World. So they came here, saw that indigenous peoples, Quetzalcoatl, got everything popping. And they're like, oh, we can rape and murder all of Quetzalcoatl's family and we can make money looking like we're indigenous. And then this is why they've taught indigenous peoples that they're from Africa. And now they can be on reservations and they can be collecting all the benefits of what they think it means to be indigenous, all because they really just wanted to practice the magic that we had going on here. And this is where you get minstrel shows. So now white people eat indigenous bodies, they eat indigenous meat so that they can put on blackface and be like, oh, America, you are what you eat. And because we as white people eat black people, we're also black and welcome to minstrelsy. Now we're gonna make this the start of the music industry. This is going to be the start of music for white people. So let's look at this right here, right? Black people make music. White people eat music. And that literally manifested in America in all ways. White people came here, saw that black people were making amazing music based on how Hermes and Tahuti combined their energy in Europe and Africa to become Quetzalcoatl and be Spider-Man way before Marvel stole that shit and create a symmetry that allows way more space for spirits to connect throughout North, South, and Central America. They came here, saw it was all popping, and stole everything because they need indigenous peoples to live. This new world was them seeing that we already had cities, we already had technology, we have all these resources, we have all of this wisdom. And Europeans, all they had is this made up superhero called Jesus that they need to use to feel better about themselves. So now they're going to use Jesus to spread more rape and murder because they don't feel good about themselves. And again, this is all on the internet. You can go look up and see how Zoroastrian is a real system. It's a real system that was before Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all of them came from Zoroastrianism. Like just simply, just very, boom, very simple. So Zoroaster is an indigenous man that set up astrology before Jews wanted to use astrology to teach you that you should hate yourself and work for them. Zoroaster set up astrology to allow everyone the space, like the Taurus that he is, to connect in a way that makes sense. It's just then Jews are like, oh, well, the way we want to connect is by raping and murdering people and lying about it. So let's steal everything, let's conquer everyone, and teach everyone that they need our Son of God, because even though you're a son of God, you're not the real Son of God. Jesus is the only Son of God, and he got sacrificed to the Roman government, so you don't have to fast like he did. So now they're teaching everyone not to fast like Jesus. So I, as the creator of these systems, literally have to come in here and fast just to set the example. And I've been doing it very subconsciously as Chase, creating symmetry for years now. So now I'm at the point where I have been fasting and separating from this world to the degree that I know how space works again. Like, I specifically shut my awareness off before being born so that I could connect with this white supremacist world in the conscious level that is teaching me to. I went through church. I went through a lot of schooling. Anytime a Christian wants to get in their ego, because that's all anyone in a religion is anyway, in their ego, and they are not aware of how I'm the space that made their religion possible. So they can't communicate with me the same way. Like, no one in America can really even talk to me on my level because they don't even know how these words were manifested. They don't know about dissect the dialect. They don't know how language works. So when they're talking to me, we can be using the same words, but the fact is their relationship with the words that I'm saying is not my relationship with the words. So we're always going to have disagreements. And that really brings us to the topic of this episode, which is me separating myself from someone in my life who has continuously said that he is a reflection of mine, despite me stating that he's not. So as Odin, I'm about to get into dissecting the spiritual warfare essence of colors, because I live out the energy and perceived as a black man in this world. And then my friend is perceived as a white man. So because we've been perceived like this our whole lives, we project like this because this is how we're taught to communicate. So I, as a black man, I think about totally different things than my friend does as a white man. Let's call him Roy. I'm going to call him Roy for this episode. So Roy, as a white man, he very much wants to play all the time. And basically we can learn a lot from Roy versus me. So Roy is a Pisces dominant. Roy is Pisces dominant, meaning that he's water dominant. I, as a black man, I am Virgo dominant in this case because I'm more earth dominant. So white is water because white is internal for here. Black is earth because black is external in this case. And we see this play out in nature in how all earth is really water moving at a lower vibration. So water is stabilized by earth, and earth is given life by water, right? This is why you can't grow anything if you don't add water to earth. But if you just have water, then you're not going to be able to stabilize the life that you are growing. So they both need each other, right? White and black need each other to create colors. This is why your soul as black and your ego as white need each other to create your mind. So your mind is you getting to be the spirit that watches how your ego and soul have sex. So you are always having internal sex. You're a man and woman having internal sex before you can create the circumstances to even be born through an external man and woman having sex, which is what you call your parents. And then from there, you're living out your spiritual reality inside of a body in a world outside of yourself. But it's always important to know that you are not that world that you're connected to. It's just that spirits get lost believing that they are the body. And this is why I'm making this video here, because my friend Roy, he as a white man is very invested in his body, because he's very much in his projection energy. As a black man, I'm more in the energy of my soul. So see how it plays out. White is water, but because water always wants to go external, it plays out in water wanting to be invested in the body. Water wants to pay attention to things outside of itself when it comes to water and whiteness combining. When you have blackness and earth, earth is external, but it wants to go internal. And then especially if it's black, it's working with perception. It's not working with projection. So that's like really the energy of Mercury, where I build a structure that allows me to perceive the projections of others. So I can see how everyone's in their whiteness because everyone is projecting to me their ideas about who God is. But I know for a fact that I'm the individual God that built the structures that are making it possible for people to tell me that they're God. So they can't be God because they don't even know nearly as much about the world or structures that we're in as I do. So this is where I get to just cut up that witchcraft, cut up that insane emotional spiritual manipulation, and provide the Caducean clarity on the fact that we're all individual gods choosing to connect inside of structures that other gods created. And then this is where you build relationships with spirits that came before you. Like if you're a spirit that just was born into a reality and you haven't built anything yet, then yeah, the spirit that built your government up to that point is going to be perceived as a god to you. But the more you learn about this God, you're only ever supposed to build a relationship with your inner God, and you're supposed to then be your own individual God. So I, as Mercury, as the spirit that built Mercury, I made this structure to put myself in a position where I can always remind lost spirits that they are in fact a space before they imagine their idea of God. And once you imagine your idea of God, that's you being God. And then this is where your imagination is your ego, and then that creates your soul. And that actually creates your internal universe that allows your idea of who God is to become real. And then that gets communicated through air, and that's you as the mind actually getting to experience your idea of God based on how you've connected with your own space. And then from there, when you do this consistently, you make Earth. That's you building the structures that actually stabilize not only your ability to connect with yourself, but now you've created something relatable enough for other people to connect with you. That's how you create Earth. So we're in a world right now where Jews are claiming that their God made the Earth. That's why they deserve to rape everybody on Earth and make money raping everybody on Earth. Because their Abrahamic Baphomet dude supposedly created all the indigenous individuals that they need to go out of their way to rape, murder, and enslave and steal from, and they still don't even understand how life works. But their God created life. So these are the same people that believe we should destroy the Earth that we're living on right now so they can go back to Mars. Do know that in their mind, they're going back to Mars. They're teaching you, humanity, that they're going to go to Mars to make life better. You should be smart enough to know that you were born here. So your elements work here. You as a spirit, your mind can go anywhere. But Once you use your mind to make a body inside of an atmosphere, your body's restricted to that atmosphere. No matter how powerful of a spirit I am, it's pretty stupid. I'm going against the laws of nature, basically, which is fine. We can go against the laws of nature with technology. We're just going to destroy our ability to connect inside the nature that we made. I would be stupid to think that I could take this body to Jupiter and go breathe air there and hang out and not have an effect. And this is how, like, Jews are lost in the body. This is like all Marvel shit. Okay? Again, all of it's stolen from indigenous people. This is all their Marvel shit, where they're using their mind powers to get lost in the body. I can use my mind to go to Jupiter. My mind, my Merkaba, my Metatron Merkaba, can travel anywhere. This is me as Tahuti traveling to planet to planet to planet, observing life and observing how we all build structures based on how we feel like connecting with spaces outside of ourselves. It's that simple. When you have this basic level of empathy, there's no room to use your idea of Jesus to justify genocide. And that's all the New World Order has done to make the banking system matter in any way. Use Jesus to justify genocide. And now everyone somehow is okay with genocide generating wealth for white people. The genocide of black people generates wealth for white people because Jesus justifies it. Jesus says it's okay. The people who made up Jesus by stealing all of Mercury's and his soul group's teachings say that genocide is okay. And now everyone's here like, why does God allow evil? Because God is only in control of itself. Fuck. The universe is chaotic. This is why the universe is one hellscape. Because it's one God interacting with another God. But the fact is, there are creators and there are consumers. And the white God that we are living this New World Order life of right now, this white God is a consumer of what black gods created. Hermes is black, by the way. Tahuti's black. But Hermes is the white side of Tahuti. Okay, so it's all Mercury. Again, you can Google it. You can see that Mercury is one space. I'm just giving you the actual way to view spirituality from the perspective of the spirit who built Mercury before people used English to steal everything that I made to allow indigenous peoples to live happily. Because do know this simulation used to be a happy, harmonious paradise before Europeans took it over with their dark age, medieval matrix stuff. All stolen from Hermeticism, all stolen from Zoroastrianism. Everything that they have is stolen from people that they don't understand. That's why they still don't understand reality, despite them working the hardest to appear the smartest, and then forcing you to listen to them because they're so much smarter than you. And literally, this is why they deserve to destroy the environment, because they're smarter than you. It's so backwards. So, I, as a black man, correlating more with Earth, I actually perceive the projections of others. My friend, Roy, him being a white man correlated with water, he perceives how he projects onto others. So I've had this problem with Roy for a while now. It's been multiple years, and he's cool because we have a whole like spiritual relationship. Like, he's this white dude that is very much about the movement, very much about the liberation movement. So I appreciate him. The fact is, I've learned that he's still a white dude. So the way that he perceives life is based on how he projects into life. And this is what white people do. White people can only perceive life based on their own projections. Black people perceive life based on white people's projections. That's why I'm making this video, because I've been talking to him for years now, and for some reason he'll listen to what I say. He'll use it to make money or sell whatever other spiritual stuff he's got going on, because he says, for example, he believes that no one in the universe created ideas. So no matter how much I communicate with him about me creating the caduceus, me creating the emerald tablets, me creating Hermeticism or Zoroastrianism, he has explicitly told me and showed me that he doesn't believe that I'm the creator of my ideas. He believes that we are all the universe experiencing itself. He's one of those kinds of people. Like, that's like, this is the new age spirituality. That's basically just like, it's just Christianity, where we're all one God experiencing itself. So no one is actually the intellectual property or author of anything, which is really just him communicating to me that he doesn't create anything. And this is also why then he feels like he doesn't deserve to claim anything. He takes pride in telling me this over time, where he's like, oh yeah, you know, I don't feel like it's right to claim anything. The only reason you feel like it's not right to claim anything is because you are not the creator of whatever you would then be trying to claim. So I'm making this video to separate myself and just build a structure that protects me, because no matter how much we talk, he is selling this phrase. Basically, he's selling it on shirts, he's selling it in stickers, he's selling it in stuff. And I had a conversation with him about how it's not true. It's a phrase that's a lie. But because he's in his ego, he's still going to sell it. He, behind closed doors, told me that I'm right. When I explained to him why his phrase, your soul is showing, is not true, he explicitly said that I was correct. He said that he didn't hear anything false in what I was saying. But he's going to keep selling the item. That's fine. He can do that. I'm making this video to protect myself because that's not a reflection of me. So this is the same exact guy who keeps saying that he's a reflection of me. No matter how much I tell him that he's not a reflection of me, that he doesn't know what I'm thinking, that he doesn't know what I'm feeling, he keeps saying that he's a reflection of me. And this is what it's like to deal with a white person as a black person. Like, this is what it's like to be an indigenous man interacting with a European man. Literally. Like, this is how indigenous peoples got their land stolen. Completely. Like, they're interacting with these Europeans that are eating their wisdom. These Europeans will eat their knowledge. He loves to eat my wisdom. He's learned so much from me. He's explicitly told me he would be nothing without Mercury. When I'm over here like, well, Mercury would be everything without you. Like, I don't need or want you to build Mercury. So you, like many others, just like all the Jews that steal my information, just like this government, you need Mercury to make your astrology matter. So you would be nothing without my structure. I would be everything without my structure, because I made my structure out of my space. So these are two opposite perspectives from Roy versus... Roy has the same perspective as a Jew. So this is the perspective of Christians, Jewish, Islamic people who need astrology to tell me that I'm not the one who made astrology. They need my indigenous creations to tell me that I'm not creative. But then all they can do is use these creations to cause more problems and spread climate change and say that no one knows. So my friend Roy, I got into this with him yet again because he said something where, after years of me explaining to him what is in All Is a Saying Academy, that the spirit creates the ego, and the ego creates the soul, and the soul creates the mind, and the mind creates the body. He very recently still somehow expressed that your soul is showing, and then he said that, well, who's to say whether the soul created the spirit or the spirit created the soul? Who's to say? Like, who really knows? And it's just like, are you listening? So here's the thing. Black people, the energy of blackness listens to whiteness. Whiteness only listens to whiteness. So this is where, like, white people will hear you as a black person, right? Europeans hear the indigenous people saying that they're individual, but the Europeans still want to view the indigenous peoples like they were created by their imagination to serve them. So no matter how much the Europeans know that indigenous peoples are individual, they're still living out that white energy of wanting to consume them based on their projections. So this man, Roy, still wants to consume my information, consume my time and my wisdom based on his projection that he's a reflection of me, no matter how much I tell him that he's not. Like, a reflection of me would agree with me and not keep saying that my soul is showing. A reflection of me would also live a similar life to me. He doesn't create costumes like I do. He doesn't make music like I do. He doesn't draw like I do. He doesn't write like I do. He doesn't exercise like I do. He doesn't fast anywhere. I mean, no one fasts like I do, but he doesn't fast like I do. He doesn't do psychedelics he's not the same as me. He doesn't communicate like I do. He doesn't spend time with the same kind of people like I do. He literally, I had to save him from white supremacists when I came out to California. And that was a whole thing he thanks me for, because he was not aware that he was serving literal white supremacists until I came in with my totally separate perspective and communicated with him about the circumstances he was in. And now he can look back and be like, whoa, I was working for an operation that harvests indigenous people. Yeah, and you would have kept working for them if an indigenous man did not come in and communicate to you about how he felt. So you don't feel like how I feel. Therefore, you're not a reflection of me. And if my soul was showing, you would know how I feel. So when Roy is selling his shirts and selling his phone stickers and selling all his stuff saying your soul is showing, that's literally him explicitly projecting onto indigenous peoples that he can see where they're coming from, which is inherently not true, because he's never been able to see where I'm coming from. He still doesn't know or fully believe that I am me. He only believes that I am who he thinks I am. Everyone can only believe that I am who they think I am. That's why I have to show you my thoughts before you have something to stand on when it comes to knowing who I am. Otherwise, you look at me and you see, oh, a black man. He's a black man. He's a normal human. And I know a human is oxygen and carbon and all these chemicals coming together, and he's just a meat sack with electrons firing in him, and he's speaking a language that is older than him, and he doesn't know anything. And now, wrong. Wrong. You're projecting onto me how you don't know where the language came from. You're projecting onto me what you think a human is. You're projecting onto me your relationship with this body. Your relationship with my body is not my relationship with my body. So when Roy is spending years listening to me, like taking all this time listening to me speak about how the spirit creates the soul, and then years later he creates this whole thing to sell of how your soul is showing, but then at the same time he's saying, who's to say which came first? That's insane to me. That's insane to me. And I can't get into this energy directly with him because it would be too unproductive. So this is me being a Virgo. See how I, as a Virgo, would rather build a structure that makes sense instead of take my energy and be negative to a relationship. Because I would put strain on this relationship if I said everything that I really wanted to say to him, which I have. That's why I actually had to make this video. That's the thing though. I take everything that I want to say to people directly anyway. Because that's like the Gemini side of me. I find a way to tell people directly how I think about them and how I feel about them. Because that's how I prefer to conduct my relationships. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense a lot of the time to actually speak to people like that. So what makes more sense is to build a structure for yourself that supports your spirit. So this is me building a structure out of my life experiences that supports my space. And this structure is going to be used to protect my space from anyone else outside of me built Mercury. Everyone else is consuming what I've created. And this is where I get to use my creativity to interact with other creators. And I can see how everyone is creative based on how they imagine God. But from there, you're still about to be trying to relate your idea of God with other gods. So if you feel like you need to relate your idea of God with other gods, this is where you're not going to feel like God. And now you're going to want to feel like you are Lucifer. And then this is where Lucifer is the water that really kills God. And then this is where water actually kills fire. Water is meant to kill the ego so that it can have a human experience. That's the whole thing. So this friend of mine, Roy, he wants to sell all this stuff about how your soul is showing, but I asked him to look at me and tell me about my soul. He can't say shit. He's never once been able to look at me and tell me about my soul. So how is my soul showing when you can't tell me about my soul? Like, you're just lying. You're lying then. And it's really disgusting that I can break down how you're lying and you'll agree with me behind closed doors, but you want to keep selling your product because you're in your ego. But you don't want to feel like you're in your ego. Just like you don't want to feel like you're a consumer. So you just want to ignore the fire element, and you basically want to ignore how water is created out of fire. So this is where Roy is all like, oh, who knows which came first, space or water? What? I've told you for years that space creates water so it can feel connected with other spaces. And really, space creates water to connect with itself, and then Earth allows that water to feel connected with other spaces. So this body is created so that my soul can feel connected with your body. This is why we all live in a world that we can relate on. We can use this language to build and relate, and in general, it's all us connecting our souls. But my soul is not showing. My soul is growing, my soul is flowing, but no one's ever been able to see my soul. When I build a pyramid and you look at it, you never see my soul. You see your soul. You see my structure, but your relationship with my structure is based on your soul. So if you are lost in your own emotions, if you're like drowning in your own emotions, literally like a Pisces is, then you're gonna just project onto others that you can see their soul because you want to feel connected in that deeply subconscious way of like, we're all connected. And then that's where Roy, being a super Pisces, wants to say that we're all just sharing ideas, that I'm not the creator of my ideas, and that we are all just expressions of the universe, which would mean that we're all expressions of one God, which would really just correlate back to him. So because I have to learn from you that we're all expressions of one universe and that we're all sharing ideas, you really feel like you're the God that gets to dictate how we connect as well. And then at that point, it's just big water energy, like just too much water energy, and water kills the ego, and the ego is you as God. The ego and God are the same. So this is where, when I talk about past life stuff with Roy, he's told me to shut up about it. He's told me not to talk about my past lives. That's why I don't talk to him about my experiences anymore. Like I'm more in my listening mode now. But I can relate with him very easily. I can relate with anyone very easily because everyone's in the low reality of just like being lost in creations that they barely understand. So I can always help people see more of the reality that they're in. And this is why people love me or whatever. People always love to have my attention and my friendship, because whatever flunked out situation they're bringing to me, I can always be like, oh yeah, but here's a higher perspective on how that works. Because I'm the one that created these structures that they're using to communicate. So subconsciously, I spiritually always have the highest perspective on how these structures connect. I'm not lost in consuming the structure looking for God outside of myself. I'm the God that built the structures that other gods are using to connect. So now my soul group can connect on structures that I built, and you're going to see my signature in the fact that Wednesday is Mercury Day. All right, I'm a symmetry day. It's right there in the middle of the week, the fourth day of the week, because I'm the logic. I'm the mind, the balanced mind that brings the logical structure to the universe. So this is why all religions, all governments, all these systems that use astrology are stolen from me, and they consume all my ideas in all these multiple ways based on how they want to express their imagination. So this is no different than what Roy's doing with my information. And it's just that, just like a Jewish Christian person, he is going to consume what I have while still validating his own ego. So even though he'll say behind closed doors that I'm right that your soul is not showing, he's still going to sell that merchandise. He's still going to give that message out to the public and his people, because his ego doesn't want to appear wrong, and his ego is invested in this structure that he built. So he's going to keep projecting it outward. He's going to keep using it despite him admitting that it's wrong. And I'm going to use this structure to put a boundary here and say that he is not a reflection of me. He is not my soul brother. He is a completely individual spirit outside of myself who, in his own words, would be nothing without Mercury. I would be everything without Mercury, because I built Mercury to help the universe, to heal the universe. That's what Mercury is. I'm carrying the water. I'm carrying the information about your soul so that you can heal yourself. That's what Mercury is. That's why you have the caduceus in all the hospitals. That's why you have Hermes as the creator of hospitals overall. It's all about you healing yourself based on how I can create the circumstances where you do so. And this is what I'm doing with this video, letting you know that no one can see your soul. Your soul is not showing. This man, this dude, my friend, I asked him to tell me about my past lives, to tell me about my memories. He couldn't do it. He said he could. He was like, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can tell you about yourself and see your past. I'm like, okay, do it. And then he just fell silent for a while. And it's just like, I'm not going to waste my time with fake psychics. What is up with, like, just no one can see your soul. No one is going to look at a costume I made. Let's not talk about pyramid, right? Talk about Tahuti time. Let's bring it more grounded. I is Chase Clarence Calloway. Every time I've made a Spider-Man costume, no one has ever looked at it and seen all the work, time, and energy I put into creating it. No one's ever looked at my Spider-Man costumes. No one's ever looked at my Black Panther costumes and been like, whoa, I can see all the memories that Chase went through to build this structure. No, you can't see that. Only I can. When I look at my costume, I can see all the ways in which my space connected with space to make that structure real. That's my soul. So when you're like, your soul is showing and you're telling me that, that's disgusting. You're just projecting onto me that you want to see my soul. And that's basically it. Like, you're literally just projecting onto me, you want to see my soul. And then once I build a structure, you're only going to talk to me about your soul, and you're going to use my structure to talk to me about your soul. But you can't see my soul because my soul is more complex than the structure that I'm using to express myself at any given moment. Do you see how simple this body is compared to how I feel about this body? So it's just that basic wisdom. And it shows me that he is not me, all right? Colonizers, Jews, Christians, they eat indigenous peoples because they want to be us. They want to act like they are us. And then that manifests as white people eating black people, saying that they're also black, so they deserve to wear blackface and play music and invade our land. It's playing out here in my relationship with Roy, where I, as a black man, am constantly providing the platform to give Roy spiritual wisdom. And Roy is consuming my information while telling me that I'm not the creator of it. But he subconsciously knows that this information came from me. But because he wants to feel like we're all the same, or he wants to feel like we're all just sharing ideas, or we're all one universe experiencing itself, then he's going to keep projecting out, your soul is showing. And now I have to build a structure that is me saying to the public, to the world, what I already said to him a lot. Like, everything that I'm saying here, I've said to him a lot. I'm just putting it in a different way because now I'm not saying it to him. When I say it to him, I have to be like way more light, nicer to his feelings, and he still gets his feelings hurt. And then he still wants to spread the lie and do what he wants to do while taking what I said. So I'm just like hurting myself as a black person. This is what indigenous peoples went through trying to help the Europeans who were invading them. They just hurt themselves because they're helping people who are just eating them. So now they have no help left to give, and the white people that ate them have everything because they ate them. The white people ate all of your time and attention. They have all your energy. They have all your creations. Now they can build a matrix that's meant to trap you with your own ideas. Like, that's what the relationship would go to if I keep interacting with Roy the same way. So I have to put more of a boundary down and see him way more as like, just had to separate myself more. I support him, but the point is I as Metatron support people who don't support me. That's the curse of being Spider-Man. That's the curse of being Mercury. All right, when you see Spider-Man constantly doing the job of the police and then they shoot him in return, that's what it's like being a black person, where you serve white people and then they shoot you in return. Welcome to America. So I as Quetzalcoatl set this up so that I could, it's a whole social experiment. It's the biggest social experiment, all right? So that I can talk about this and we can all learn about how white people work, actually, about how God works, actually. Because this whole spiritual warfare is coming out of white people believing that they as God can project out onto others and then control others with their projections. Whereas black people, because they know that they're God, they are happy alone and they are okay perceiving the projections of others. And this is how you just communicate naturally. When I communicate, I'm always in the energy of perceiving other people's projections. That's what Mercury is. That's why I'm basically the god of communication. Whereas it seems like everyone else is mainly in the other kind of energy. So I mean, I like the balance. It's all about the balance. Again, Mercury. But it seems that everyone else, I mean, especially religious people, have been trained to just perceive their own projections. So it doesn't matter what you project at them based on what you perceive from them. You can give them all the wisdom that they need. Because this white person can only perceive their projections, they're going to consume what they can understand from you and then just throw the rest out. And then that's where in Atlanta season 3, Donald Glover literally had to get Liam Neeson in there to make the statement that the best and worst thing about white people is that they don't have to learn anything if they don't have to. Liam Neeson explicitly said the best and worst thing about white people is that we don't have to learn anything if we don't have to. It was along those lines. And that's the exact energy we're talking about here. After 3 years of me actively teaching Roy how the spirit creates the soul so that it can create a body, he is selling all this merchandise saying that your soul is showing, despite him admitting to me that it's wrong because he wants to. That's whiteness, and that's not energy I resonate with. And he wants to, but he's doing it from the perspective of ignorance. Like he said, even though I explicitly build this whole school and I'm actively teaching him how the spirit creates a soul to build bodies and how thus all bodies are working to express the soul. But really, he took that, like he took my truth and turned it into a lie. Like he took all these lessons that he learned from me when I came to hang out with him and get him out of white supremacy in California. He took these lessons, which are true when I say them, and turn them into a lie. No different than how Jews take what I say is Mercury and turn it into Christianity. So they take the truth and turn it into a lie. So because I've expressed to him and shown him how spirits create bodies so that their souls can connect, which is true, of course, your body is moving because your soul feels like connecting with other souls, but that happens through the mind. This is why the mind is the air element that's external. Your soul is internal. No one can see my soul, but you can see my mind based on if my mind feels like communicating and combining my soul and my ego together. That's why air forces out to make earth. Tehuti. So when you know that, like when you know that the spirit creates a soul first so that it can then build a body that connects with other souls, now you can be like, oh, I can see how your soul is showing. But fundamentally, your soul is not showing. And no one has ever been able to see how I feel by looking at my body. I've had too many miscommunications with Roy because he thought that he knew how I felt inside my body. For a huge example is we were working for the white supremacists. I was working for them. I was serving them. They were paying me to serve them. And I didn't like that I was experiencing racism. I was experiencing so much subconscious racism hanging out with Roy and his family group of people. Because he had this whole soul brother. And this was me learning like, okay, wait, if that's his soul brother, but his soul brother is racist to me, then no, we're all individuals. And he just wants to be connected with people. So he's saying that everyone's his brother. But he doesn't want to feel connected with those people anymore based on how I've communicated with him. So now he still wants to say that he's a reflection of me, but he was willing to connect with white supremacists and he couldn't perceive them the same way I did. So we're not the same. Stop saying we're the same. Like, it's just you expressing that you want to eat me and be me, basically, on a weird subconscious level. Eat yourself, be yourself. So I went through this whole experience of dealing with all this racism from the people that he had me spending time with. And he could tell that I wasn't happy because my soul, my emotions are affecting my body, right? My soulful emotions are making me just more focused on working. And I don't feel like talking or like validating all these white people because they don't speak to me the same way. Literally, I'm in a position where like these people would not refer to me by name. They would refer to Roy and they would refer to the other person that we were with, but they wouldn't talk about me. And I was the only black guy. They wouldn't say my name. They wouldn't look me in my eyes like they look them. Like for black people, like you understand how white people are like that racist. And Roy couldn't perceive that. And here's how not psychic Roy is, okay? Here's how not psychic this guy who wants to be psychic is. When I was working for these people and I'm upset, there was a point where their child came and I started to play with their kid. As in, like, I started to set up their skateboard stuff and basically babysit their kid. And he somehow looked at me being upset before the kid came. I was actually happier after the kid came. So when the kid came, I was happier because this was a person who wasn't being racist to me. He was a little white boy who wasn't programmed to be racist yet. So he was actually interacting with me like a human. And I had way more fun with him than I did with any of the adults who are treating me like I'm a black platform that they can express themselves on. I had way more fun interacting with that kid because he wasn't racist. Yet Roy, being in his white psychic Pisces energy, he told me that he felt like, or that he was perceiving that I was upset. Psychically, he felt like I was upset because I was jealous that the kid had a father. He literally told me that he thought, based on his psychic intuition, I was jealous that this kid had a father and that's why I was upset. And I was jealous that this kid had a big backyard and that this kid had a lot of stuff and that this kid had all these things that he could have fun with. And I'm like, whoa, wow, you are not psychic. And how dare you at this point, especially after all this time, be selling merchandise saying your soul is showing after we've had these experiences. But whatever. No. And then I had to correct him like, Roy, I was upset because I'm experiencing racism like this, this, and this, and this. You as a white dude cannot perceive how I'm experiencing racism from your peers because they're not treating you the same way. So you're not in the same space that I am at all, even. Like, you're literally not in the same space that I am. Like, you are being perceived a different way. Thus, you're projecting different ideas and you perceive the world a different way. Roy, because here's the thing. I came out to California. Roy was very adamant that when I come out, I would not deal with racism. He was all like, there's no racism out here, bro. Hilarious. It was so fun. And I knew that that wasn't true going out there. I just didn't know that he was literally going to be working for people who harvest and eat Native Americans. It got that deep, actually. It got that deep. So I literally had to save him from that. That's his soul showing. So if I didn't come in, his soul would be showing by him supporting white supremacy out of his ignorance. That's not me. Not saying he's a bad person. He's a great person. That's not me. You can't be my reflection. So when I had to check him really hard and correct him on that, like, no, I am not upset that this child has a father. I want children to have fathers. I was happy that the child was more fun to interact with than his father. Come on, Roy. I'm upset that you brought me into racist circumstances and I have to deal with racism from a spiritual community. And just seeing how spiritual white people are so racist. So this is what white people do. You know, like white people need to feel like they're victims. So they do their best to feel like they're victims, even though they're creating this circumstance where they're just consuming your energy as a black person. So if you're a black person and you find yourself having your time, energy, and body and information consumed by a white person, it's always going to be because they want to feel like you. And then you as a black person are going to learn that you don't want to feel like these white people. So it's always about the spirit being separate, okay? This is me as a spirit creating a structure to represent how I am separate from every other human on the planet. Point blank, simple as that. No one thinks like me, no one feels like me, no one has the same perspective on the universe that I do. No matter how close you think you are to me, no matter how much you keep telling me that you're a reflection of me, or that we're the same, or that you can see my memories, even though you can't say or speak on how I feel at all, no matter how much you feel like we're connected, we are all separated by space. We're all separated by space. That's objective, that's simple, that's a fact. That's a fact, okay? We're all separated by space. Your space and my space are not connected, or else we would be thinking and feeling the exact same thing at the exact same time all the time, right? Boom. That's how you know spaces are connected. Okay, so when you look at 5 television screens and they're all playing the same channel, you know that these spaces are connected by one channel. But those spaces can channel different frequencies, which means that they don't have to be connected. So really the fact is every space is separate from every other space. And you as a space grow larger based on how you amass more information in your soul. So the fact that no one can look at me and see the information that I know in my soul shows me that my soul has never been showing. I wish it was. My job would be easier if I could just show my soul to Roy and he wasn't like this. He wasn't communicating like this anymore. And he actually knew who I was. Because I can't perceive how he could possibly be selling this merchandise of your soul is showing when at the same time he can't tell you about your past lives. He can't tell you your memories. He can't tell you who your family members are. He can't tell you who you're connected with. He can't tell you who you really care about. He would have to listen to you speak and build a relationship with the structures that you're using to talk to him to even be able to get close to that. So he's just lost in his imagination and projecting his imagination onto other people and then limiting the world based on his imagination. That's why he still can't see me as who I am. Like literally, after all these years of me naturally expressing to him who I am, he'll still bring up things like, well, Chase, are you really sure that you're Hermes or Thoth? And he loves Thoth. That's how I know that he's white. Like real black people say Tahuti, but he'll say Thoth because he wants white energy. He just wants to play. He wants to be light. He wants to be seen. It's all white. It's all white energy. It's white energy. Thoth is white. Thoth is what white people call Tahuti. I'm Tahuti Trismegistus, but whatever. Thoth. Stupid. It's for the ignorant, literally. All right, that's the name for the ignorant. Know that whenever someone says Thoth, they're way more ignorant about Tahuti than you are right now. So, also, he's made a post, by the way, in the past where he shouted out other social media pages for teaching him spirituality. But because my social media page is not as big as the pages he shouted out, he didn't tag mine. So that's just yet another thing where it's like he is working. He's not me. Like he's not me. That's not what I would do. That's not how I interact with people. That's not how I would treat people or whatever. And what's really insane, if I'm going to get deeper, and I am, what's really insane about him all the way at this point still selling merchandise saying that your soul is showing, when he literally was throwing the idea at me like, well, Chase, are you sure that you're Hermes or Thoth? Because I read on the internet that you can take these gods and hold them in your chakras. So you can have every god in your chakra and you can harness their energy. And I had to naturally be there like, yeah, but Roy, you do know that a space had to connect with itself and express something consistently enough to even create the energy signature that you would want to consume in your chakras. And then he's like, oh, yeah, right. That makes sense. Like, we don't think the same. We don't think the same. You're not the same as me. You're literally a consumer. Like, that's full consumer mode. Like, are you sure you're a creator? I read on the internet that we can eat gods to be all of them. That's literally a Jew. Like, that's literally the mind of a colonizer. Insane. So, and by the way, this is someone who my first psychedelic trip with him, let's get super deep, because this isn't like just someone who I just randomly like talked to. This is someone who I went on a deep mushroom trip with, and he tripped in my room. I let him in my home for our first trip, and I watched him stare at himself in my mirror. That trip was him literally, he was talking to me about how he doesn't think it's really that vain to stare at yourself and like love or like appreciate or focus on how you look or blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, I'm agreeing, because it's like, yeah, that's the point of having a mirror, so you can be aware of how you look to the world. But he proceeded to stare at himself in the mirror for like over an hour in the trip. So I let him into my room, and then he stares at himself in my mirror in our mushroom trip. And he has the audacity to tell me that my soul is showing when he used my room to stare at himself. He didn't use my room to learn about me in our mushroom trip at all. He used my room to stare at himself in the mirror. So literally, I watched him talk to himself, by the way. Like, I was like closing my eyes, letting my Merkaba travel through different dimensions, interacting with demons, and because it was all demon energy that trip. Like, it was like super demon energy looking back. It was all about like earth and demon energy and just demons, whatever. And like, I'm connected with this man through demon energy, basically. That's why I have to build this structure to help separate myself, but it's all just part of us growing together. Because this is what demon energy is. Demon energy is earth energy, because it's all about building something that allows a space to stay the same. And demons want to stay the same. This is why demons hate change. So once a structure is built, that's demonic, because it's about a spirit being like, all right, now I want to keep my imagination the same. My fire's transforming, but I'm going to make earth out of it so it can hold a position. And now other spirits can relate with this structure and connect with my space. But the demonic energy of earth is knowing that no matter how much love or heart you put into your structure, people are only going to be able to see themselves in your structure. So when Roy has this deep mushroom trip with me in my room, he's still, no matter how much I bring him into my structure, he's staring at his own soul. But because he wants to feel connected to me, he's going to tell me that my soul is showing, even though he doesn't know anything about my past lives. He doesn't know anything that I know. He's not aware of what I'm aware of, like in general. So it's just projection being perception forever. This man literally stared at himself in my mirror as I'm flying around dimensions. And I literally listened to him talk about how it's important. He wants to ride the swell of the cell. And my spirit, as Iracel, literally nudged me really hard, like, hey, he's talking about us. That is him talking to us. Because he knows that my spirit is Iracel. He knows that I named my space Iracel. So when he was like, oh, it's like I have to ride the swell of the cell, I was literally watching him talk to himself in my mirror, in my room, about how he needs to ride my wave. And I'm going to let him. Because I don't want to do this job alone. I don't like waking people up alone. I can't talk to white people in this body because they don't perceive me the same way they perceive him as a white person. So he, for me as Mercury, is that bridge to the white people that want to stay ignorant in supporting rape and genocide. He is awesome because he doesn't want to stay ignorant in supporting rape and genocide. He still has all this white energy that I just addressed in this whole structure, in this whole video that I just built. But he doesn't actually support genocide. He's a very empathetic person. That's why he wants to feel like everyone else's soul is showing. Because he wants to feel like we're all actually expressing our feelings through these bodies, when that's not how it works. Like, he's taking my knowledge, which is me saying life is subconscious. That's true. But he twisted it into a lie, which is him saying your soul is showing. That's false. He's going to keep selling that because his ego is invested in it, but he doesn't want me to call that out because that would literally be me using my soul to kill his ego. You see that? So I have to leave him alone in expressing his imagination, and he's almost certainly not going to watch this video because he's expressing his imagination. He's trying to be aware of his own stuff. And as the black person, as the Taurus, Virgo, he expects me to be the structure that supports his imagination. So he wants to consume all of my Mercury wisdom and then use it to make money for himself. Just like Jews do, just like Islams do, just like Christians do, whatever. Hey, this has been Cosmic Conversations. I am your Cychadelic Cychopomp, Chase Clarence Calloway, aka the root of the symmetry. And you just tuned into the Mind of Mercury to hear how I feel about relationships. Okay? So if you are someone who wants to build any kind of relationship with me, you better not. You better fucking not come up to me and say that we are the same. Anyone, oh my God. And that's the whole point of me being here, like actually building over the heads of all the demons in reality. Anyone who's claiming to be Tahuti without claiming to be any of my other past lives is a demon. Anyone who's claiming to be Hermes without actually claiming to be any of my other past lives is a demon. Anyone who's claiming to be Odin without being any of my past lives is a demon. Anyone who's claiming to be Zoroaster without being my past lives is a demon. Anyone who's claiming to be Quetzalcoatl without expressing the understanding that Quetzalcoatl is a combination of Tahuti and Hermes is a demon. That's Tahuti and Hermes being Spider-Man as Mercury, as Mercurius Ter Maximus, and expressing the indigenous nature of how black and white come together to make all the colors that you see in nature. Anyone, like I could go Idris, Chicatet, Hermanubis, like anyone who is claiming to be any messenger of Mercury without being connected to Anubis at all. Because there's no shortage of people on the internet who want to claim that they're me as just Thoth, or their me is just Hermes, or their me is just Metatron, or their me is just Enoch, or their me as just anyone else. I mean, those are really the trendy ones. That's where like the ones that are less known, I can expose a demon with those because it's just proof. Like, demons only want to be seen as something that's already working, right? So no one's trying to take credit for my past lives that they don't know about. That's why I, as Mercury, can set up past lives to be well known and then let demons eat those and act like they're me, but I'm going to expose that they're not me by connecting those past lives with past lives that they don't actually have any awareness of. And now I have to be here as Mercury, as the actual space that built a structure, connecting all my bodies as the interdimensional Spider-Man so I can communicate with you about how a soul actually works, instead of letting white dudes out here like Roy make money selling you lies. So, shout out the whole spiritual community. Shout out the conscious community. This is all the love and light community. Shout you guys out. Shout out everyone who's eating my creations, who is consuming the bodies of indigenous peoples and ignoring it. Because you exist. You know, whatever. I'm just shouting you out because I'm indigenous. And I'm, for some reason, eternally cursed to supporting people who don't support me. I'm not going to do that, but it's a relationship with it because I use it for lessons. So that's where Metatron worked through Hermes, and Tahuti to create Quetzalcoatl so that they could manifest Europe and Africa and America and create all this circumstance for Europeans, for Jews, to expose how evil their idea of God is, to expose how disgustingly depraved their imaginations are, and how they need to build structures that consume indigenous individuals and that trap our souls, because their imaginations don't matter without our bodies. So I, as Zoroaster, as the Taurus that built astrology, I literally made the system that allows religions and governments to even function in a consistent way. That's why Mercury is right in the middle of the weak structure. And you're just going to see Mercury in these systems. And then you're going to see how my past lives are connected in whatever way. But the whole wisdom is knowing that you can't get the truth about a spirit from anyone except that spirit. So the only way you would know who I am is if you come to me, and that's why I've created symmetry. So now anyone who's claiming to be Hermes or Tahuti or Odin without claiming to be Clarence Calloway right now is a fucking demon. Anyone who's claiming to be Hermes or Tahuti or Metatron or Quetzalcoatl or any of my past lives without claiming to be symmetry, Cymatree, is a motherfucking demon. They're here to eat what I create and be seen as me. So I hope this was helpful for you, because the whole point of me building this structure is for everyone to learn, right? That's why I built the world that we're in with other spirits, so that everyone can learn. But I recognize that people aren't here to learn. That's why if you made it to the end of this video, you came here because you vibrate with learning. Everyone who comes to this reality because they want to eat, those are literally the white people who don't care about learning. They'll learn enough so they can eat. And then they're going to lie so that they don't have to learn how to eat better. And this is why Jews and Christians worship the sacrifice of a man who fasted instead of fasting themselves. This is why they worship the idea of going to heaven and working and slaving away to get to heaven instead of building a heaven where they are right now and being happy where they are in general right now. It's all that. So once you know that your spirit is infinitely individual to yourself, now you can see how you create a soul. All right, don't listen to Roy when he's all like, who's to say which comes first, the soul or the spirit? The spirit might come out of the soul. Wrong. And I corrected him on that. Okay, I corrected him on all. I've said all this. It's just I had to build a structure out of this because he's going to keep consuming my time and attention, and I'm not going to have anything to show for it besides how he steals my information and then uses it to lie. So that's just, you know, a microcosm of my relationship with the Jews and the Christians who are stealing all the information I put out and creating the Bible and creating their idea of a new world order to rape and murder and build a matrix that makes money out of trapping your soul. Pretty wild. Very important that you love yourself. When you truly love yourself, you know that no one can love you the way that you love you. When you know that no one can love you the way that you love you, you are now actually in your infinite individuality, and you can see how your fire creates your water. You can see how God creates Lucifer. You can see how you as a space have an imagination that's so individually and infinitely awesome to yourself, you have to feel like connecting it with others out of sharing, not consuming, right? I'm here sharing wisdom. I'm not here to eat anyone's time. I wasn't born into this world to eat. I was born into this world to share. That's why you see me as Chase fasting so much on my psychedelic symmetry shit so much. I'm here sharing from my tree. I'm not eating other trees nearly as much as I'm sharing from my own tree. So Roy is just yet another person who needs to eat from my tree, but he doesn't want to feel like he eats. He wants to feel like me. He wants to feel like he fasts. He doesn't do psychedelics nearly like I do, but he's going to tell me that he doesn't really need to because his body naturally produces it. But he also doesn't fast nearly as much as I do. So I know scientifically his body is not producing DMT nearly as much as mine. So he's literally just using words to relate with me. He's just using words to say that he also has the same feelings that I do, and I as a spirit have to know in my knowledge that no, he does not feel the same way I do, or else he would not be communicating the way that he has been up to this point. I hope this video was helpful for you, all right, in learning how to basically protect your soul. Protect yourself from people who want to consume your time, attention, energy, from people who see value in you, and people who want to take your information and use it to build a structure for themselves. Because this is the interplay of whiteness and blackness, okay? This is literally just like whiteness being that straight up projective energy and blackness being that perceptive energy. And you can either be in your whiteness, where you project out ideas you want to perceive, or you can get more in your blackness, where you perceive ideas that other people project out. And this is why black is about water. It's about waiting, okay? It takes time to actually perceive other people's projections because they have to project them out consistently. It takes time for you building a relationship with someone to actually know if you want to be with them or not. Like literally, like all relationships start out light. It's like I've never really seen relationships that start out the opposite of light. Like normally relationships start out very fun. People see what they want to see in each other. And then it's all happy-go-lucky, like, oh yeah, I see what I want to see in you. You see what you want to see in me. And we both respect each other for our egos. But over time, all right, as you consistently project and you consistently perceive the other person's projections, your soul, which is more correlated to your spirit in that case, because it's more connected to your spirit, is going to let you know how this person is separating you from the way you connect with yourself. So because you're in your ego, being aware of spaces outside of yourself, other people can use your ego to separate you from yourself more. And then this is where your own soul kills your own ego so you can connect with yourself. That literally looks like you killing yourself either in a psychedelic trip, literally because you learn more, like, oh, you kill your ego, you're so boom, you connect more with your space, you're stronger, or you could literally die. Like your body that your ego wants to be aware of can physically get killed in reality because you were choosing to be aware of things that were not actually healthy for you. So this is what a demon is. Demons kill you, and demons kill you with kindness. So this is someone who would kill me with kindness if I continued to let him take my energy the way that I have been. If I continue to let him consume my creations the way that I have been, he will kill me with kindness the same way the KKK kill Native Americans with Jesus, with kindness. Literally, Jesus and kindness, same thing, right? The whole point of Jesus is that he loves you more than you love yourself. So you need to serve him or else you're going to go to hell forever. That's what the Jews made up based on everything they stole from me. Everything they stole from Zoroaster. So, very important to know that these are the energies inside of yourself, and every time you're conducting relationships with people, you have to balance these energies out to build your life. Literally, like your mind is you constantly balancing out how you project and how you perceive. You can perceive your own projections and you can perceive the projections of others. So if you perceive your own projections more, right, that's you living in your whiteness, you're more in your ego, that's great, that's God. If you're perceiving the projections of others, you're more in your blackness, you're more in your Lucifer, that's also great. You know, that's you learning how to connect with people outside of yourself. You, as God, is learning how to project who you are so people can connect with you, right? Because that's why water comes after fire. Lucifer has to connect with what God projected. Lucifer perceives God's projections. So black people are more in the Luciferian energy of perceiving the projections that white people put out. Again, know that these are two energies inside of you. It's just about building a relationship with yourself. And from here, you're just way more wise on how your mind works and how reality works. I really do hope this was helpful for whoever in the world is dealing with relationships that may be similar to this. If you are dealing with relationships similar to this, let me know. Okay, it's truly just the interplay of white and black. And this is why it's important that whatever you correlate with, basically build a soul group that supports you and build a structure that actually supports you the way you want to be supported. Because that's what the soul is. The soul is the first structure that supports your spirit the way it wants to be supported. And then the body stabilizes that structure. And your body also then allows you to share your soul with other souls. So you can only share your soul with other souls through a body. That's what we call the fruits from your tree. And then that's the idea of having sex with other spirits to create life with them. And now we're all here creating life based on how we have esoteric sex and then physical sex. And we're just combining our masculine and feminine energies on a spiritual level. We're combining our fire and water. We're combining our whiteness and blackness to create the human experience that allows us to see all these colors. And now we can get demonic about these colors because this is the earth that we want to stand on based in whatever beliefs we have about who we are and how we want to connect with other people. Much love to you. This has been Symmetry, the one and true creator, the only creator of Mercury. All right, this whole structure was really me creating something that can keep these demons in check. And now I can just build upon this, refer to it, and as demonic energy pops up in the future, I've already controlled it. I foresaw how it was going to be trying to ride my wave, ride the swell of the iris cell, and I can check it and keep my spirit separate in a way that actually protects me from being killed by people who want to eat me, who want to consume my creations and be seen as what I naturally do. Protect yourself. Spiritual protection is essential. That's what real self-love is. Like, see, like, this is all like, this is me going on a whole self-love thing. If I didn't love myself, I would keep serving people who don't love me. And that's the trap that black people are in America. So black people, learn how to love yourself. All black people, learn how to love yourselves so you stop supporting white people who don't love you.